Hello, it's Father Time. Date is, I think it's March 12th, 2023. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. I've scampered into the basement to try to do a little bit of YouTube, which I'm new at, and flight simming, which I'm new at. I'm not new to aviation. I got a lot of time in commercial jetliners. I retire after 36 years in September, flying for a major US airline. I've never flown this airplane though. It's the Dreamliner, standard Microsoft issue Dreamliner, so you all have it if you own the game. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We're flying out of Kennedy for New Delhi, India, which is a flight I fly often. Not in this airplane, I fly in the 777, but just started flying this Dreamliner. It's not a big stretch because at one time Boeing wanted to do a joint type rating, sort of like the 7576s with the 78s and 777 to save the airlines money, and the FAA said, no. Just too many differences. But anyway, what I've done is I have loaded it up. Take that look down here. Max takeoff weight's 557. We're going to be about 600 or 700 pounds below that. So, oh, wait a minute. I'll put in my actual weight. That's with, until I'm going to die. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to do, don't worry about it. So anyway, here we are. We're going to fly. We're going to fly over, and this is about, I'm going to talk to you while this boots up. You can enjoy this biplane picture here. It's going to be an engine failure. Super heavyweight engine failure at Kennedy. We're never going to make it to New Delhi. We're going to come back into Kennedy with overcast skies. And talk about some of the things that on a type rating or in the real airplane naturally, or on our annual check rides, we would be thinking about, talking about doing. Remember, on the New Delhi flights, in big long haul flights like that, even to like London generally, we have 3 pilots, 1 captain, 2 co-pilots. You can delegate a lot of the stuff. There we are at Kennedy. Very nice. I'll set the clouds. Let me get in here. In the 787, usually crosses the Atlantic at 0.86 versus 777's 0.84. And can get right up to altitude. 777's usually a little altitude limited, so it's got some performance benefits on the 787 due to that dihedral wing. It's beautiful. Let's go in here. We got a lot of work to do just to get ready to go. Number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of these lights up because it's the simulator. Just wanted to start off on the page because if you wanted to set up and practice an engine out on any airplane, 787, and so some of the things you consider in Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you have any aspirations, or in fact you are a pilot, you know that I got a Logitech at home, very limited panel. Don't worry, I'm not Malaysia 370 here. That's runway heading, which I chose that because like the captain's takeoff's runway heading to 5,000 feet. Oh yeah, and just going to get this airspeed down into the range. It's going to be, no matter what the box says, about 185 for the V2. Got the flight directors on, all the throttles on. We're going to go with VNAV. So you push it. Like that. And there it is, VNAV's arm. See that? And we're going to just go heading hold on this bad boy. Actually, heading select. How's that? Usually if you press this, it's heading hold. Heading hold and VNAV. And if we're going to use VNAV, we need to send an engine out acceleration. We'll come out of radio, go to baro. It's a two-handed mouse operation. Look at the bottom of the PFD down here. And you're going to see the engine out altitude come up. Captain Marvel can keep on there. What is going on? Maybe this. There we go. In the airplane, this sets very quickly. 810, you'd set it on both sides. Captain would set his, and the FO would set hers, and you got yourself a. See how politically correct that was? I should have said theirs. I have to retire just because of the pronouns. I really do. Call anyone anything they want, but not preemptively. I get so confused. Anyway. I'm going to set 810, which is 800 above field level, and it's a typical engine out profile for most major airlines for an engine out for transport category airlines. And somewhere in there, I'm not going to be too particular, but I'll get it down around 810, so it's talking to VNAV. But the most important place you set it is in the box, but as you're about to see, it won't let me do it. All right, so the mode control panel is set. We're going to set the box up in a second. We're going to come in here. We're going to get the seatbelt signs on. These on. So this is an engine out, super heavyweight engine out demonstration. I'll tell you some of the things we're talking about, but we have an advantage. Our advantage is we have an extra pilot there and an extra pilot over here. Two of us, so we can delegate PAs and talking to the flight attendants, listening to the ATIS, writing down the ATIS. We can always have one guy. Typically, I say if there's a problem, I don't want him doing anything back here. Just want him watching me if I'm flying. He can't see the FO, so if the FO is flying, we have to reverse it. But one guy's watching the other guy fly at all times. We'll talk more about that. Let's come up here. Not going to challenge myself too much on the weather, and the reason is I've been having to go missed approach. I don't know what is going on with this. I'm just going to set it down around 1,000 or so, 1,100. The glide slope has been, when I disconnect the autopilot, all the glide slope goes away, localizer goes away. I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, we're just going to come down about 1,000 feet, break out, get the autopilot off and land. This truth is, this 7576 will auto land. I'm 7576. You can tell where I had most of my hours. The 777 and 787 will auto land with 0-0, really, with the engine out. It's kind of cool. All right, so we did the mode control panel. VNAV, heading hold, runway heading 5,000. We set up the engine out altitude at 810, right there. And now we're going to come into the box, get rid of the yoke, do some of this box stuff. First thing we check, 787 box, it's different than triple. 787 position, this would obviously have been aligned at the gate. Just clean it up so when we take off, things look as normal as possible. 41, JFK, and it's old school. I'm checking, this is the center of the airport. This is the current position. Very reasonable, it knows where we are. The route's already in there. We would have already checked it. It's all the way to New Delhi. We're not doing that. We're never gonna make it. I just know it. So reserves, New Delhi, the reserves are like 24. Alternates are far away. Could change the weights if we wanted. Thrust limits, I need to execute that. Thrust limits, we're gonna go TO, which brings it up to 97.9. Full climb power, right there. And that's a reduced power setting, assumed temp of 20. Probably be close to a max power, max takeoff weight. Cooler weather, maybe not. But 97.9 will be our N1. Takeoff. Here we would set engine out, acceleration, but I will prove to you we can't do that. And that's because we're going to take off in VNAV. And on the triple and the 7.8, you clean up in VNAV. 193 is V2, right? That's actually accurate. It's funny, this is the fourth time I've flown this, trying to get this right. This V2 has changed every single time. So that's that. V2, you see the V1 and VR, about 12 knots difference. If we lose an engine right around V1, which I have a sneaking suspicion we will, I will not rotate right away. I'll put the rudder in on the runway, try to delay rotation just a little bit as a technique to make sure I'm tracking exactly out on runway center line, because it's critical that we do for our obstacle clearance. I'm going to set the range at 10. Our obstacle clearance on runway 22. It's only a cone, probably about 10 degrees each way, that 3,000 foot min vectoring altitude is accurate. So the engine out we can't set, we set it in the other thing. We'd have multiple pages. We'd set our thrust reduction. The thrust reduction is right there. That's 1,500 feet normal operations. All right. Execute light is just staying on. Don't know why. Thrust limit, we did that. So we got the init ref, route, departure and arrivals in there. VNAV is all set. Yep. 41,000 feet. And legs, the pilot flying takes off on the takeoff page. Pilot monitoring on the legs doesn't work. So are we set? We've done the overhead, lights are on, we're clear for takeoff, set the ceiling. Yeah, I was doing this in the weather with 200 feet, but I was losing the ILS every time at around 500 feet. And that was going haywire, so can't demonstrate that. Would have liked to. Don't know what's going on with that. All right, so let's look down here. Take off the parking brake. Normally we bring the throttles up to 50% before we hit toga, but can't do that today because I won't be able to reach the toga levers up here. If I bring this up, oh wait, maybe you can. So about 50%, hit toga. Let's do this pilot stuff. First check we're going to look for always is 80 knots. Centerline, centerline, centerline. 80 knots. And that's an acceleration check that we cross-check the cockpit. Make sure we don't have any clogged pitot tubes. 80, they didn't match, we would abort. And we're going to V1. At V1, that's our go, no-go speed. You all know that. And that is, we are committed to takeoff at V1. But you know what's going to happen? Captain Marvel is going to fail the left engine. Now look at that. Rotate and right. I got full right rudder in. 7, 8 and the triple actually have auto rudder for this kind of stuff. Kind of cool. But I put in full right rudder. You kind of help it along. It doesn't kick in till I think you're above 10 feet. Positive rate. Gear up. And I'd say my aircraft, because we've had an engine failure. The other guy would have called out engine failure. And I am flying up in the bars, and I tell him to declare a mayday, tell me we want runway heading to min vectoring altitude. They say, Roger, and go runway heading 3,000. So we said 3,000 in the window. He did that for me, or she did that for me, or they did that for me. It's 3,000. And we are just staying in the bars, flying out at V2 or so, up to 810, which is our engine out, acceleration altitude. I'm a little above the bars because the speed got a little hot. There's 810. Get down back in the bars, clean it up in VNAV. Rudder is still in there, full rudder actually. Start getting the flaps up. Trimming nose down. And we're tracking out that center line because that's what that 3,000 foot is good for. Just a couple of miles, a couple of degrees, 15 degrees or so, either side or center line. Okay, I'm descending, that's not good. Let's go back up again. And pressures are trimmed off, it's accelerating. And I am going to put the autopilot on. Just right there. And relax. Autopilot's on. Now what we're waiting for is the aircraft to get to around 250. Now we're not in a hurry to do a checklist. Why? Because that engine did not seize. It just flamed out. Right, set down around 3. So I'm going to keep it running in case we need it. When we get to clean in maneuver, which usually is 250, it's not going up for some reason. There it is, 250. I'm going to hit flight level change. That's close enough. Get it in there. We got a YouTube video to run here. So there you see, 250 flight level change, and we check we have continuous power set, which means it came out of takeoff, and continuous power is max power setting for one engine. I'm still flying. I say my aircraft, and I'd say engine failure checklist, and they'd run that. It's an electronic checklist, by the way, not that you care. I would tell air traffic control that the Mayday aircraft would like to turn crosswind. And they'd say, Roger, turn crosswind. And that's about a 130 heading select. So when heading select up on the panel, I did that by, as you know, going up here, clicking, and then right-clicking on the mouse. Went from heading hold to heading select. So what's happening right now? I am flying the airplane, and I tell the RC back here, who's doing nothing, relief captain, or the FC, just watch me, don't do anything but watch the pilot flying. And we're turning left downwind, and what's happening over here? The right seat guy, this guy. They are running the engine failure checklist, which definitely is going to have the APU start. Let's start that up, get a little help powering those generators, right? And what they are doing is turning off the, I just know these things, turning off the left throttle. I can't do it, I have a single throttle at home. And coordinating with the pilot flying, left throttle to idle, they do that. The pilot flying does that. Left fuel control switch to cutoff. And I'm not going to pull the fire handle because it's not seized. If it was damaged or on fire, I'd pull it and start firing bottles if we needed to. But we are leveling at 3,000 in flight level change on the turn to crosswind. And I would tell ATC well, they would probably tell us we could take our turn to downwind, which is 040. Big thing, already mentioned it, only one guy is flying the airplane. He's not heads down at all. He is just flying the airplane. In this case, we have the extra pilot can monitor him flying. So basically, the two people working their butts off right now are the guy in the right seat running the engine failure checklist, and that person's also going to run an emergency landing checklist. And the guy, the FB, who's sitting right in between us, is going to be doing any communications with the flight attendants, telling them they're going to do a precautionary landing, not planning a grand evacuation, which is what they're interested in. You get the range out a little more so we can see where we are. And then making the PA to the people, assuring the people that we had malfunction that requires us returning to Kennedy. We'll have a passenger service agent meet the aircraft and have you back traveling to New Delhi as quickly as possible. I apologize for the inconvenience. It's more serious than that. We know that as pilots, but we're trying to calm them down. All right, so pilot flying, I've delegated the PA, talking to the flight attendants, the PA. Person over here is running the checklist, and finishing the checklist, they'll tell company via the ACARS that we're diverting back into Kennedy with engine failure and request ARF equipment. Now, I'm going to come down here. To be honest with you, everyone's busy except me at this point. Autopilot's on, downwind leg. I need to get us back into New York, so I got to go KGFK. Right now, the airplane thinks it's going to New Delhi. No, you're not. You are going back to Kennedy. So now that that's in there, and light's not going to go out, you can go departures arrival, and it's Kennedy. And do an arrival. Took off on 22 right. We're going to come into 22 left. The reason I want to do that is 22 right's a displaced ILS. It comes in on an angle. It's a longer runway. It's got a displaced threshold, but I don't want to do a VOR. What am I doing about that thing? Departures arrival, arrival Kennedy, delete. That's a real life thing, huh? There you go. I'm going to plan on, yes, I probably would have done that in the real airplane. I'm going to go on to 22 left, shorter runway while we're talking about it. Set the auto brakes to 4. I think that's max now, 4. And I'm going to arm the spoilers, armed. And I'm going to come in. About to get briefed by the FO, but the approach is going to be flaps 20 with auto brakes 4, spoilers arm. 186 is going to be our VRAF at flaps 20. When he's done with that, done with the checklist, the person's going to come back. Oh, you know what? See how this is dotted? Do this. Now in the real airplane, why doesn't it let me do that? It's not real critical. But legs. Why is that not doing that? That's okay. There it is. Now it's solid. We could extend this so we wouldn't have all these points. Can't do it in this airplane. All right, we are beam to field. Speeds below 260. I'm going to get flaps 1. Start bringing the speed back a little because I don't want to get rushed. Are we in a hurry to get on the ground? Yes and no. We don't want to fly around with a broken airplane, but the most important thing is we get it right the first time. Flaps 5 is below 240. We can get below 240. I bring flaps 5. There's 240. Flaps to 5. Bring the speed back. And below 230, which we are, flaps to 10, which I think is a 7.4. I don't fly the 7.8. I think that's a 7.4 flap setting. We get all the way down below 220. We can go flaps 15. We can't go flaps 20 until we are 1 dot on the glide slope or engine out. All right, there we are. Flight attendants are briefed, passengers are briefed, ATC is briefed, the company's briefed, checklist is run, engine's secured. We got the APU generator. I'm going to request 2,000 feet. And the reason I'm going to do this, is because I want to come in from below the glide slab. I'm going to push flight level change. We're going to go down to 2,000. Rosley's at 3, Zalpo's at 2. I'm going to come up here, and it's a left turn, and intercept final somewhere out here. So flight level change, it should be going down to 2, but it's trying to slow down, which is good. And I think we're ready. It's kind of how it is. It's about the speed you go. With two people, it's busy to do all those things, but the most important thing is fly the airplane, right? We'd brief the approach. Now you can delegate that. I can have anyone brief the approach. I probably have whoever's not working, maybe the FB sitting between us, brief the approach, and we'd look at the ILS 22 lefts in there, decision height. Let's do that. It's about 213, 212, I think. That way that comes on at the right time. And we got time here coming outside of Rosley to talk about the missed approach. The pilot who ran the checklist will be talking about that right now. And it's flaps 5. Normally it's flap 20. So we'll be going around, flaps toga, flaps 5, set missed approach altitude should be 3. We are not going to set it for missed approach here because it messes up the Microsoft Flight Simulator. But I'm going to tell them to request an event of missed approach. We'd like to go runway heading 3000, just so we're not doing any Yahoo missed approach procedures. Of course, they do it since we're a Mayday aircraft. So that's our missed approach. We talk about stopping straight ahead on the runway, having ATC look over us. I mean, our equipment look over us. We didn't have to dump fuel because we could get in here with flaps 20. And so, but we're going to have hot brakes probably on landing just because we are right at max takeoff weight. So we're not in a big hurry to get to the gate with just a flamed out engine. They may send us somewhere for the brakes to cool. They'll shoot us with a radar gun that determines whether or not the brakes are overheated. Okay, don't let ATC rush you. Just turn towards final, towards the base leg, about a 310. I'm going to get the range about there so I can see it clearly. Now let's go to 10. Yeah. That's the base leg. I'm not going to arm the approach until the localizer's off the wall and almost there, because what I notice in the sim, and now it's correcting back to 2000, is it goes into capture, it goes crazy. So just a little simsmanship there. And let's see, I'm going to kind of get an angle going over towards, get a dogleg vector towards Rosley. Supposed to be at Rosley at 3, so we'll be below the glide slope. That'll be nice and comfortable for us. So that's about a 270, about a 45-degree intercept. Public math, right? Yeah, or more than that. So I'm going to try to go right about there. That should be a comfortable intercept to the localizer. That's it. So we've briefed the decision height at 200. What we'll do in the event of missed approach. Runway heading 3000. How to do the missed approach. Going around, toga, flaps 5, positive rate, gear up, set missed approach altitude, runway heading 3000. There's a white tape that comes up here, the top of the white tape, that's 1,000 feet AFL. We would start cleaning up. And that's it. That's about as fast as it goes. And you can hear by the way I'm talking, as the captain, you're kind of thinking of all those things. So to be able to download a lot of those tasks to the pilots not flying, that are just not even, they're sitting behind us, takes a tremendous burden off you. If you want to be a control freak, the guys sitting next to you all have 25 years flying experience on these big airplanes. They're extremely experienced pilots. It's a super easy airplane because of the experience of the crews. All right, that localizer is about to come off the wall. When it does, there it comes. I'm going to hit approach. What do we get? Low capture, glide slope is armed. Yeah, just know that if you do it much earlier than that, you're going to have problems. That was probably a little later, but it'll work out. Now, you could set missed approach altitude now because you're out. I'm not going to do it. Even when it goes green, I'm going to leave 2000 in there because the airplane just doesn't seem to be able to handle it. In the sim world. In the real airplane, you'd set it Right about glide slope altitude, glide slope capture, set its approach altitude. The reason we wait for 1 dot to go gear down flaps 20 is because at certain weights and temperatures, you'd have a heck of a time maintaining a level flight with gear down and your landing flaps. I think we briefed everything, guys. Got auto brake set, spoilers are armed, approach speed is set, flaps 20, 186 is a ref, missed approach will be set, and here comes the 1 dot, gear down please, and flaps to 20. So flaps 20, gear is down. Now we're looking to capture the glide slope. There it is, glide slope capture, and you can see ref is set, and there you have it, coming down nicely. And I'd say before landing checklist, because I call for final flaps. Before landing checklist complete, tower would clear to land. You can tell them we're going to stop straight ahead and have the ARF equipment look us over and take a radar gun, a heat gun to our brakes to see what the temperatures are. Roll out with flare tells you we could auto land, and this airplane in the 777 you can auto land, engine out. That means the airplane's ready to do it if you are. And now all I'm doing is getting ready to take it over manually in the event that it gets a little erratic. Get my seat up where I can definitely see the runway. Remember, on the ILS we have to see the approach lights at 200 feet with decision height, go all the way down to 100 on the approach light. But at 100 feet we'll have to see the runway on a Category 1. There's the runway. Kind of sitting low on it, kind of low ride. Low ride. I'm not crazy about this seating angle here at all. Weird. But anyway, let's do this. Crazy. Autopilot's off. Here's the rudders. Flying in on the VASIs. Remember, we're going to stop straight ahead. Stay on the runway.
Minimums. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Not a grease job, but on center line in the zone. This guy would call out no reverse left engine. Go full reverse. Auto brakes are on. I'll turn them off just by pumping the pedals. And here we'll stop. Remember, we're super heavy, so we are very concerned about hot brakes at this time. I'm not going to park the brakes. And what's going to happen when we stop is, will the flight attendants evacuate or the passengers jump up? They're all nervous. And I would get on the PA, say, this is the captain, remain seated, remain seated, remain seated. I'm not parking the brakes. Right now, the fire department's all around us. I would tell the people that we're going to have some safety equipment look us over before we taxi to the gate. They would use their heat gun, look at the brakes, and say, "Oh, looks good, Captain." Or if it's because the engines, they don't see a bunch of junk hanging out there, and they clear us the taxi to the gate, we'll plan on doing it. Look at this, the engine's starting. Isn't that funny? Anyway, that's how we do it. This is Father Time. I hope you enjoyed that. If you wouldn't mind, just give me a like. I would love it if you subscribe too. I do a combination of instructional videos, equipment evaluation, and then some really ridiculous videos, like I just landed in the NFL AFC stadiums, flying about the worst Harrier flying that you can possibly do. I have a little fun with that too, but I'm limited as how much I can do because I do have adult supervision upstairs that summons me out of the basement. But sure, I'm enjoying it. This is Father Time. Thanking you for your support and thanking you for tuning in. See ya.